Hello, welcome to Outlook. This week we have come out with a cover on the latest situation on the war front. Is it a controlled war between India and Pakistan? Discussing the issue, we have with us our foreign editor, Mr. Pranay Sharma, and our political editor, Bhavna Vijkarora. Pranay, to begin with, how do you look at this situation?
See, the thing is, now the entire focus is on getting back the pilot of Indian Air Force who was in their custody. So he's coming back today, and so I mean, there's a lot of celebration. People are very happy. That is one part. Now, the political leadership, I think, will have to take a call and assess the situation, because what they were saying that till our objective is met. Now, what that objective is, this is which they would clarify, because as I understand what they had said, that Pakistan will have to take visible, discernible steps to show that they are dismantling the terror infrastructure which was on their soil. So how they go about that, by building more diplomatic pressure or through other tools, I don't know. I mean, this is something we will have to see. But that's a determination which the government will take. But I think their top priority was to see the safe return of this Indian Air Force pilot.
That Pakistan is claiming that it's their peace initiative, that they are releasing Abhinandan, Wing Commander Abhinandan. But do you think there were some back-channel diplomatic initiatives on part of India to ensure early release of
See, I mean,
Abhinandan?
back channel or otherwise, I mean, obviously, the first thing for any government would be that if one of your soldiers, he is in the custody of a country with which you have an armed confrontation which is going on, so to get him back, that would be the top priority. So various kind of negotiations would be there. But both India and Pakistan are signatories to conventions which are there in Geneva and Vienna and all that, on which the guideline is very, very clear that if you do pick up someone, during such engagement from the other side, you will have to treat him in a manner and hand him over to the other side as soon as possible. So I think in this, a lot of people, yes, I mean, it's a nice gesture, I mean, that's okay, but it's also, in a way, some would say, Imran Khan is trying to turn necessity into a virtue, kind of a thing, This is something is expected from any civilized country.
Yeah, like India has been saying that it has to be unconditional.
Yeah, this can't be a condition. This can't be a condition that you're one soldier, that if you don't meet this, I'm not going to, release him. This can't be a condition. So it's a good gesture, definitely. It has to be, it's nice that he has been handed over, he has been treated well. But this can't be the condition for which I think, the present armed engagement with Pakistan that has happened, or why India had to go and strike inside Pakistan. That was not the objective, I think.
There's a lot of talk about this change in Indian strategy. Many are saying that by undertaking air strikes at Balakot, there is a paradigm shift, tectonic shift in India's policy towards tackling terror and all.
True. What a lot of strategists would say is that earlier India mainly operated from within its home territory, not go inside Pakistani territory. This is for the first time. It did go in and through airstrikes, proved it. So basically this sends us a very clear signal that if Pakistan does not take action against terror infrastructures which are within that country, so it will force the Indian government to take action.
In Pakistani Parliament, Imran Khan stopped short of suggesting that it's a kind of deliberate thing which has happened in view of the impending Indian elections.
Yeah.
So how do you look at it? Is there any political thing behind all this? Will it have any impact on the coming general elections?
Yes, definitely it will have an impact. See, the incident itself, the strikes themselves into Pakistan, that I don't think we should be so cynical as to impute a political motive to them, because that is something that needed to be done. And after Uri, the way India had done those surgical strikes, so after that it was almost necessary to do something now. And with elections coming, I think that also must have been one consideration, that they couldn't afford not to do anything either.
Yeah.
So that was that. So by that logic, they had to do something. But now, post the strikes and everything, so now how it pans out, that is the main thing. The thing is, ideally, they should, neither BJP nor the opposition parties should take any political mileage out of it, because it was done something. It was something that was done in national interest.
Yeah.
True. So nobody should really try to take mileage out of it. But considering the nature of our elections, our polity, our everything, I think that's a little too much to ask, because everybody is going to do it. And we have seen even from BJP, people have been making statements, trying to give this image to, which he already had, Mr. Modi, that strong muscular image. So they are trying to reinforce that image all over again. And in the run-up to the elections, it definitely helps them.
So how do you view the situation from now on? I mean, they have released, or they are releasing in a short while from now, Wing Commander Abhinandan. How is going to be in the next few days or months?
In my assessment, I think they are going to keep up the pressure, because what they have suggested, and in my understanding, that is, unless they see, which can be verified, that Pakistan, see, the problem is, why did India go in or strike? Because initially, I mean, if we step back a little and look at that argument, is that we have been giving Pakistan dossiers, information, everything about the terror groups which have been operating from there. Even if I am to believe, the Indian government, even if it is to believe that the Pakistani government is not involved in it. So now if you don't take action, it becomes very evident that you are complicit with this. So you have to take action. That is the main objective. This is a side story now. I mean, it's a good thing. It's that the Indian Air Force pilot is returning home safe. They have shown a very good gesture. But this does not take away from the fact that what India was asking right from the beginning. They will have to focus on that. And that is something a lot of world leaders have been talking about. So let's not dilute that bit.
We also have in this package story by former Deputy Chief of Staff, Lieutenant Colonel Subrat Saha. How do you, it's insider's view, what are Prime Minister Modi has given a free hand to the military. What is, from military point of view, what should be the action kind of to tackle terror?
See, I mean, I'm sorry, I have not been able to read his piece yet, but I did have the opportunity of having a discussion when he came here the other day. What I understand from what he was trying to say is that it's a good thing that the Prime Minister is behind you and he has given you that free hand. But at the same time, your responsibility also goes up much more there. So you have to be careful that the policies that you're taking, they are really going to meet the objective of what the government wants you to. So this is something which we will see, and of course a government standing behind its armed forces always gives that confidence. And in a situation like that, I don't think it's such a bad thing.
I have been speaking to some present army officials who are already there, not the retired ones, and not just the army, in the Air Force also. Like he said, they feel so happy and they think that the government has reposed this trust and confidence in them.
In the army.
Yeah, they said because they were always ready. I mean, even after 26/11, they were ready even at that time, and they had given a plan to the government even at that time. But the government did not get the go-ahead from the government.
Yeah.
So this time they are saying that actually it feels really nice. I mean, that is what they are saying, that to know that the government is confident and they have reposed that faith that they can actually undertake such daring, complicated and some sensitive strikes, and they've left it to them. The planning was done in this case was completely by the Air Force. The NSA and everybody, they were involved, they were coordinating and everything, but the planning, everything was given completely by Air Force.
Completely free.
Absolutely, they had a free
The
hand.
government stands behind you. You make an assessment how you'll go about do this. We are with you. That is what we are trying to tell you. And I think that gives them that.
In this issue, we also have an interesting package on the last 10 years. That is taking a cue from the 10-year challenge. We have looked back in all fields what has happened in the last 10 years. How do you look at, Bhavna, how do you look at the political changes? I mean, 10 years ago, Mr. Advani was leading NDA in 2009 elections. 5 years later, Mr. Modi came on the scene. Today, Advani is nowhere. So how do you look at the political changes?
In fact, the example that you've given of Mr. Advani, that is, I think, the most stark, which actually describes the change that has happened. Like from the old guard, from the how it has changed completely. And not just in terms of age profile and everything, the kind of politics has changed. It's become a little more ruthless, it has become more of a street fight to some extent. The politicians are not scared to come out and on the streets, and we have Kejriwal, who's also come up in the last 10 years.
Right.
And we don't really have people like Mr. Advani or Mr. Joshi or all those people who were there at that time. And Mr. Manmohan Singh was there, even he is like not really in the front of things in Congress. So there's been a complete change in the last 10 years.
Biggest thing I think would be Narendra Modi's, isn't it? Because the way
Of
he
course.
dominates the political scene now, meaning 10 years back he was a regional.
He was in
He was
Gujarat.
Chief
Yeah,
Minister
Chief
of Gujarat.
Minister, true.
But the way the main leader, if you talk about who has the maximum space at the political theatre, is Narendra Modi. So this is a fundamental shift, I think.
Absolutely, completely.
Also, India has emerged as a kind of economic power in the last
See,
decade.
that growth has been going on for a while. To be frank, this started almost from Narasimha Rao's time. When you started reaching out, incremental. It went on. People were still a little tentative about how good a market India would be for them. Whenever they want to invest money, they are a little cautious. But more and more, when they realize that the other institutions or the market, which is required, the environment, which is good, and this government has done a lot also, to make it a more friendlier place. That has shifted. I think, internationally, what we need to speak, because this is a neighboring country, that's the rise of China. Again, as we were talking about the space which is being, dominated in India by Narendra Modi, and I think, at the international stage, it would be China's rise, which has thrown up questions in different quarters, where people look at the challenge, the opportunities, all that. What kind of a power will China? What kind of power it's going to be? This is a huge debate which is going on all over. So I think, that's another important, significant change which has happened.
Two fields which we have tackled in this issue also, films and sports. In cricket, we have seen a rise of Virat Kohli and the Indian team as the most powerful team in the world. In cinema, content-driven movies are being made. For the first time, we are seeing the star system is crumbling. So you cannot run a movie only on the name of a superstar.
A lot of faceless people have come
that is it.
and become.
So this has been a completely, very interesting decade from that point of view.
Tell us a little about this, because at one time when we were growing up, we saw new wave filmmakers like Shyam Benegal, Govind Nihal and all. They were trying out, and when a lot of them came, we didn't know them. Earlier, Shabana Azmi was known more as Kafi Azmi's daughter.
Yeah.
Nasiruddin Shah, nobody knew. Where he's come, Puri, a lot of these people who came, and then they became such big stars, such powerful actors, all of them. Is this kind of a revival of that? Is that cycle being repeated?
It's a revival in the sense that the fundamental difference is that great movies were made in 70s and 80s, from Shyam Benegal onwards in Indian cinema. But they were not commercially successful movies. What is happening now that even if you don't have a big star in your movie, if content is strong, if it's a good movie, if it gets audience worth its money, then it's going to do well. That is the biggest take-up.
Is it the delivery system also? Say the multiplexes which have come, or social media through, because a lot of people are putting them in different channels.
Absolutely. Multiplexes played a big role in this because they have provided a very good platform for such movies. Earlier, those movies, take for instance Jaane Bhi Do Yaaro, which was such a good movie that it didn't get even a proper release across the country, and it was not a commercial successful movie. These days, if you make, even if you're an independent producer, you make a small movie, good movie, chances are that some big distribution network, some big studios, they will buy the movie and they will distribute it through its network. That is a big difference that has come about in the last 1 decade.
That's interesting.
So we have all these stories and much more in the current issue of Outlook, which has hit the stands today. Please go and grab your copy today. Thank you.